So what I'm going to do in this video is give as much value as I can to you so you can take forward in your own training, your own nutrition and stuff, whilst talking about what I'm doing, okay? So currently I am like 11 or 10 days into a fat loss phase. So this is what I look like at the start of the fat loss phase. After 11 days of pretty hard work, this is how I'm looking now. Not a bad result. And I started at 86.5 kilos. I'm now down to like 83 point something. I've had like a 7 pound drop, which is quite normal as soon as you go into a deficit when you pull food a fair bit. So I'm actually going to Mexico in 5 weeks. Basically, my intentions is to go to Mexico and not be a whale. Okay, I don't want people shouting tsunami when I jump in the sea. Okay, we don't want that. But on the flip side, I don't want to accelerate fat loss too much, just to get a little bit leaner and compensate with some muscle loss. And then when I get back from Mexico, I'll then continue the fat loss phase. And I don't actually know how lean I'm going to get. I might get really lean, I might not. I don't really have a big incentive to get shredded. So I don't know, I'm just gonna see. The goal is to pull off a rate of loss around 1% of my body weight per week. Okay, so roughly about 0.8 kilos every week. I'll get down to about 78, 79 kilos in Mexico in 5 weeks when I start at 86, which seems quite aggressive, but as long as I can, optimize my meal timing, making sure I'm recovering between sessions, that is a rate of loss, which I think is definitely sound to retain muscle and feel okay. As you get leaner, you might need to scale that back a little bit. So when it comes to your rate of loss when losing body fat, so if somebody's pretty lean and they've only got a few kilos to lose and they've got 8 weeks, you can take it really slow. Generally speaking, the slower you go in a fat loss phase, the easier it's going to be and the more muscle you'll retain. However, if you're somebody that's got 15, 20 kilos plus to lose, you don't want to go too slow because it's just going to take forever and you don't need to do it that slow, especially if you've got enough stored energy, you're not going to feel hungry or too lethargic, tired anyway, because you've got enough stored energy in body fat. For me, what I like to do, for most people, obviously it's different from person to person, depending on genetics, their natural body fat set point. But what I tend to do as a good rule of thumb is at the start, be more aggressive, losing around 1% of the body weight per week. As they get leaner, deloads in between if need be, refeeds, diet breaks. But once they're in a more of a leaner spot, I then tend to drop that rate of loss down to about 0.5% of body weight per week. And if they're getting really, really lean, then you could drop it further. It's basically the leaner you are, the less aggressive you want to be to retain the muscle. This leg session I did about a week ago. I feel like I'm behind with everything I'm filming. Anyway, first movement of the session, we've got a leg extension. So if you're familiar with equipment in gyms in terms of brands and stuff, this is a prime leg extension. So the benefit of this machine is that we can load it in different points of the session. So in terms of resistance profiles, I feel like most people don't need to think about it. If you're someone with an injury or you've been training quite a while, you're more advanced, then it's definitely something to think about. So I've actually experimented a fair bit with the profile on this leg extension. I've found that if I load it too much in the lengthened initially, obviously that's when my knee is flexed, I get knee pain. If I load it too much in the short, in the contraction, I feel like it's too much load on my knee. So what I actually do is load it primarily in the mid-range on the first set with, I think it's 80 kilos, 4 plates. And then on the second set, I'll use the same weight, but I'll do like a 50-50 split. So half in the mid, half in the lengthened. If I load it purely in the lengthened or more in the lengthened on the first set, I get knee pain. So I feel like it's one of them where you have to just experiment yourself. So that's what I do with this. I do 2 sets, typically around 10 reps, to be honest. I don't like going too high in reps because I get gassed out. But on the flip side, I don't like going too low because of the actual stress on my knee joint. So there's no magic number for rep ranges. You've just got to choose one that you can connect well with, that you can do safely, and that's sound. Then after that, I do 1 set of an abductor. So I'm trying to work my glutes a little bit more, not from a physique standpoint, more just from a functionality thing. So I feel like my glutes could be a little bit stronger, so that will help with the kind of anterior pelvic tilt. So that's why I'm doing them. Just do 1 set there, nothing mad, like 15 reps. Then I do 2 sets of a standing calf raise. If I was to do things, optimally, let's say, I'd do 1 day a week where I do them standing, another day a week where I'd do it with my knee flex, just so we target both the the gastrocnemius and the soleus. But to be honest, I've trained calves for a long time and not a lot changes. And even if I could do things a bit better, I also don't care that much. So I just do 2 sets a week. Then I go into 2 sets of an adductor. You'll notice when I do this, I'm really, really slow on the eccentric. And that is because of my lack of hip internal rotation. My adductors are quite tight, so spending time, stretching the adductors out is a bit of advice I've taken from a guy that does deep tissue massage on me, that the physio. That's what I'm doing, just 2 sets there, typically high rep sets, 15, 20 reps. And then after this, I go into a seated leg curl. So I'm at that point now with leg curls where the load I'm using is relatively heavy. I actually like this leg curl because the pad it sits kind of higher up my quad. On this Cybex one I use another gym. The problem I have with that, I'm not saying it's a bad machine, not at all, but it just sits a little bit lower towards my knee joint. When I line my knee up with the center of the axis of rotation, it sits a bit lower down. It's a little bit uncomfortable, whereas this it sits a bit higher up. So it just feels a lot better for me. And yeah, now I'm at that point with a leg curl. The load is quite a lot, so I think this is the top's like 110 kilos. So what I need to do is invest in something that will keep my hips more stable, because if there's an energy leak there, then obviously I'm not going to produce as much force and less mechanical tension to the hamstrings. So if Jinpin's watching, feel free to send me one. Otherwise, I'll have to buy one. So yeah, I actually do 3 sets on a leg curl because I'm only doing legs at 1 times per week frequency. All 3 sets are to failure, but there's 3 sets here, and I do 1 set of a stiff leg deadlift on my pull session. I feel like if I do 2 sets, it might be enough, but I'd rather play it safe and do 3 sets just so I get more total volume through the week. After that, I go into my compound, and I shit you not, this squat, this Smith machine is so heavy compared to any Smith I've used. So for context, when you unrack this Smith squat with 1 plate, it feels like 2. I literally feel like there's a plate difference between this and the Cybex one. But yeah, the reason I'm doing a Smith squat now is the pendulum, the hack squat. When my hips fixed in position and we're solely just kind of flexing the knee and the hips aren't coming back, I experience knee pain. So yeah, I've just had to use something where my hips can move more freely, and that's why I'm doing a Smith squat. So I'll do 2 sets, again around like 8 to 12 reps. I won't take any low rep sets. And because I've pre-exhausted my quads already on the leg extension, I can use less load, so there's less risk of injury. Or it's not even injury for me, it's just like once you've had an injury, like I did play in football years and years ago, once I've had that knee surgery, like people will know, once that's done, it's never the same. So I have to think about things a little bit more. If I can get the same stimulus with less injury risk, I'm going to do it. So after this Smith squat, 2 sets there, I then went into a leg press, the Nitron one. I did 1 working set, that is it, 10 to 12 reps again, and just slow eccentric, controlling the change of direction. Not too much to say. I did actually forget to film the set. But after that, I then finish on 1 set of a dumbbell Bulgarian split squat. I know these are horrible, but they are extremely effective, and also I'm thinking about things from a functional standpoint as well. I'm not just thinking what is the best thing to build muscle. Obviously that's the primary thing, but I'm also thinking about functionality. So my hips are quite restricted. What do I need to do to make them more mobile and functional? Is doing things that are more of a natural movement rather than being fixed into machines all the time. So that's what I finish on. It's a nice finisher, spending a second in the stretch, controlling that change of direction, exploding up. It's a really good way just to finish my quads off. This clip actually makes me laugh here when I'm struggling, and them just looking at me like she literally doesn't give a shit. It is quite funny. But yeah, that's legs. Finito. Yeah, cool. Just before I started this fat loss phase, I deliberately got my testosterone levels measured, and the reason for that is because this is a massive mistake people do when they check the test level. They'll do it after running themselves into the ground in a fat loss phase, where inevitably your hormones are going to plummet. They'll get the results back and it'll be like, you know, 2-3 nanomoles of tests, and obviously that's going to be the case. And then, you know, they'll go to a doctor, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's under the reference range, and then they're then relying on TRT for the rest of their life, when really all they needed to do was just start eating a bit more and giving, you know, their body a bit of time to recover. So the best time to actually, you know, check your testosterone levels is when, you know, your body has got some homeostasis, you're in, you know, a body fat range, what is sustainable for you to manage. That's when, you know, it's a good time to test it. So for me, I've had like 2 other testosterone readings over the last 2 years. One a few months after my diet, and it was shocking, and then, you know, another one 4 to 5 months after, another one, I don't know, 6 months after, whatever it was. And, you know, it crept up, and I know that's where my test levels naturally kind of sit. And this time, actually, my testosterone levels were at 15.4 nanomoles per litre, which is about 1 to 2 nanomoles more than normal. So, normal for me. So, it is in the reference range, but it is at the lower end. And for me, you know, people say, you know, at my age, it should be higher. But the thing is, you know, ideally I'd like it to be higher, of course, but I'm not going to go looking for medical treatment to optimize my test levels when I don't have bad symptoms, and I can still improve lifestyle factors to, you know, improve that. So for example, for me, there's 2 main ones that I can get a hold of that will help my test production, and that is sleep. So just working too late at night in the gym and then being back in the gym early in the morning. So some nights I'll finish at like 8:30 at night and then back in the gym at 6:30 in the morning. It is too much. And then just stress. And again, that just kind of comes from work management. So that's legs wrapped up. And before I talk about my own workout split, I do want to say that your workout split really does not matter that much or at all. As long as you're recovering from session to session, it doesn't matter. So my thinking when choosing a workout split is thinking, what areas do I need to improve and how can I get the most out of every set throughout the week? For example, if I had 10 sets of chest per week, I'm not going to put that all in one day, because the sets from about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the quality is going to diminish a little bit. Even if you have a great work ethic and you're determined to give it your all, if you're fatigued, and those latter sets aren't going to be as good. So typically for me, well, I'll tell you what my workout split is. Let's just do that. So on a Monday, I do a leg session. That's 1 times per week frequency. I have run them at 2 times per week for years, but the last year or so, my legs are pretty much a strong point for me. So I've just brought that down to 1 times per week, as it's not a priority, and going into a diet, it makes no sense to increase it. Tuesday, push. Wednesday, pull. Thursday, I do a side delts and arm session, which is a weak area for me, so that's why I've put them there. And also, my tricep volume and bicep volume on my push and pull days are now very minimal. And the reason for that is just because the quality of that arm work after those sessions isn't as good as if I have them on my own day. Okay, so although I have more frequency, the actual total volume for the week is less because the quality of the work is more. So I only do, you know, like 1-2 working sets on some of these exercises. And then, yeah, on a Friday, rest day. Saturday is an upper session. Sunday rest. That is my split. So that's it. That is what I'm doing. Hopefully, I don't know, this video is worth watching. And if it was, please drop the video a like, subscribe if you haven't yet. And yeah, cool. I'm going to do a video every week. So see you next week.